Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Mo,
And I'm J.O.
and you're listening to Mojo and the Outsiders podcast, brought to you by Backwoods Adventure Mods.
Guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we've got someone super exciting on the show, Santiago. He's the owner of Rogue Van Company. If you've ever seen a custom van that makes you think, how do I get one of these? You can thank Santiago and his team for that. Before driving into the van life game, though Santiago's journey was shaped by his roots, he's a world traveler bringing a global perspective to everything he does. But his story doesn't stop there. Santiago comes from a long line of strong, resilient people who taught him the value of hard work and dedication, lessons he's carried with him as he runs Rogue Vans today. These days, he's not just building killer vans, he's running his business like a well-oiled machine. Santiago's journey is one of grit, passion, and a lot of hustle. So grab a seat, relax, and let's dive into this conversation with Santiago about his travels, his business, and everything in between. Hey guys, we have Santiago. He is the owner of Rogue Vans. Santiago, as far as your overall, life and business and everything, Ty's told me a ton about you and told me about all your travels and everything. Man, as far as like traveling, what kind of started that passion?
Dude, we're just jumping right
into it.
Yeah, I always hate starting it. So here, Mo, let's let you start.
No, I think it was perfect, man. I think it was perfect. But I mean, kind of like what J.O. touched on, I've never really got to sit down with you, a little bit at Mountain West, I got to sit down with you, and you were telling us about your uncle, who had came to this country, done well for himself and everything, and you were showing us his store, and you were so proud of this, and so that's kind of the backstory I have on you. But you had told me that you didn't always live here and grow up, in one place and stuff like that. So how'd you land here in beautiful San Diego, and what's maybe been one of your other favorite places along the way?
I told you about Uncle Natty.
Yeah,
man. I mean,
I don't remember doing that.
Man.
Yeah, you showed us the video.
Yeah.
Old video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
walking through the store.
That's epic.
It's very cool.
So that's really funny. So for those of you that don't know, I got these two guys down at my shop here, Rogue Van Company, San Diego, California. They're coming to visit. We're doing this podcast. I'm stoked.
Mojo on the road.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, my Uncle Natty, that's really funny. So I have family in California. I didn't grow up in California. I grew up outside Chicago. And my Uncle Natty, though, immigrated from Egypt to Southern California, Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
And back in the 80s, he opened up a chain of liquor stores called Natty's Liquor. And
Perfect.
Natty's Liquor was, dude, like back then, it was the shit.
Yeah.
And like I showed you guys that video.
Yeah.
And it's like he's got just aisles upon aisles of like every liquor, cigarette, brand, everything that you could ever want. And it was the 80s, so their cartons were on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just a totally different world. And then the video like subtly pans down to him under the counter, and there's just like a giant Magnum. This is huge, like cannon of a gun, just like sitting under the counter.
Also appropriate for the 80s, right? You have to have the Magnum behind the register.
Oh, for sure.
Well, watching the video is like a little time capsule. It's funny watching it, and you just saw like carton of cigarettes just right on the count or whatever it was.
The shelving and everything. Well, and the customer's stoked to be there, right? Because it wasn't like it was a commercial or shot when nobody was there. They had people in the store. Everybody's happy, to be at Natty's Liquor getting their fixins.
Yeah. Matt Fileta, my cousin. If you hear this, you should publish that video on YouTube. People can watch it.
Oh, definitely. It's a gem for sure.
But anyway, so Natty's Liquor, me, no, they don't really have a lot in common. But
well, it just seemed like an interesting part of your past. Like I said, the way you were showing it to us seemed very cool. But so you're from Chicago then. Tell us how this differs. How did you land here then? If you're from there,
that's a long story. I grew up really loving. It's actually kind of funny to say, but I actually grew up like just wanting to be like high plains drifter.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like a hobo. I wanted to ride freight trains. As a kid, I thought that was the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
Like I would watch videos of like dudes hopping trains and tying their belts to support rails and riding on the tops of boxcars through the rain. I would watch, like this, all like the big generation of people after the Great Depression that just like stayed on the road and just, moved. Yeah. I heavily romanticized that as a kid, and I thought it was incredible. And when I was 18, I just put a backpack on. I graduated high school. 10 days after I graduated high school, I went out to the highway. I stuck my thumb out, and I did not stop traveling for the better part of like 6-7 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Man. So I went all over the country. I hitchhiked over 28,000 miles those first 2 years. Went all over. I ended up, I went over to India when I was 19. And went all over there, and like I didn't like backpack like traditional people backpack. I was literally living on like $1-$2 a day.
Holy cow.
I would just pick up work doing whatever I could. I did like walking tours in Kashmir with this family. I did just like random stuff.
Whatever somebody's needing that day, right?
Yeah. And I hitchhiked. I hitchhiked from Ladakh to Manali, which they say is the tallest road in the world. And I was 19. I was just like, I had back then. I just had really big balls, and I was just like, I'm fucking doing this. And I was totally alone, and I like. I didn't even have like a sleeping bag or anything. I just did it. And luckily I got picked up by like some truckers.
Yeah.
And they ended up taking me through the mountains with them. And it was a wild ride, dude.
Right.
I had so many interesting experiences there. I don't want to dive like how deep I can dive into that, because it's just like
as much as you want.
Crazy, man. That's crazy. But, I mean, so how long did you spend over there before you came back? Did you just...
That year, I was in India for almost like three months. Not a super long time, and then I came back to the States. I had the bug. I hitchhiked to Portland. From Portland, I hitchhiked to LA with my friend Laura. We got a one-way flight to Managua, Nicaragua, and then I basically spent the better part of like the next like 6 years in Latin America.
Yeah. That's insane. And really, it's especially in my early 20s, I always fantasized, about just traveling around. But I had a child, at a very young age, so I wasn't able to do that. But, and it's crazy because I used to follow people all the time that, were doing that exact same thing. And I'd always wonder, like, how are they doing this? Like, how can they make this work? And really, it sounds like it's just... I don't want to say sacrifice, because I don't really feel like that's the right word, but I guess it'd be like minimalism. You just make do with the littlest amount as possible. And I guess that's how you can make it work,
Yeah. There's a lot of trust. You just kind of trust that things are going to fall into place.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you don't eat a lot.
Yeah.
You don't eat a lot.
Yeah.
Dude, like I'm like 235 right now, 240.
Yeah.
I'm 6'2", pretty solid person.
Yeah, right.
Back then, I was like 155, 160.
Holy cow!
I was like a twig.
I can't even imagine that.
Oh, I was like a twig, dude. I mean, some days I would only eat like a meal, and
that's nuts.
And it was like that for a long, long time.
Yeah,
I was like that for most of my 20s, actually, and. Yeah, I mean, in Latin America, I did a lot of different things. I moto toured Latin America later on. I bike toured almost all of Central America, hitchhiked almost all of Central America, took just chicken buses everywhere. Just like I started a leather goods company there. that's how I was like making a living, was just like selling my leather goods on the street and like hanging out with other like kind of street urchin type like people. And you know, I got to a certain point where I was like, I've kind of fully dove into that life. And then I was, you know, I talked about how my uncle is from Egypt.
Right.
My parents are also from Egypt. I'm completely Egyptian. And you know, my parents came to this country because they wanted, you know, something better for their kids. Right. Like they faced immense diversity. And adversity. Sorry, they faced immense adversity in Egypt, and they had a really tough time. My family's Coptic, so that's like old Egyptian Orthodox Christian. And my family had just like, you know, a lot of persecution growing up in the Middle East, and it was really tough. And they lived as like second-class citizens. Yeah, they're from a neighborhood called Shubra, which is basically Cairo's ghetto, and it's a big like Coptic sector of the city. And so I was like, you know, I was basically like living like a street urchin in Central America. And you know, I kind of was like, you know what, I don't think my parents sacrificed everything that they sacrificed for me, for this to be my life. And
to almost go back to it, right?
And I kind of came to my senses a little bit, and I was like, I want to do something better for me and for, you know, my family, and I want to kind of make something of myself. So I moved back to the States. I went to school in Portland, Oregon. And you know, but then I basically just ended up continuing doing my leather goods business. And you know, that's kind of what got me into vans. I was touring around the country with my van kind of filled with all my leather goods, going to different like festivals and fairs and events and stuff like that. And no one at the time, I mean, 14, 15, 16, 17, like nobody was really like, I couldn't, like I would, you know, there was nothing for me to buy. There's nothing for me to like, no model to follow. You know, like I just knew that I wanted a bed and I needed storage and I needed to fit all these bins filled with leather. And like, so I just one of my buddies actually was visiting from Guatemala, and him and I, like in my driveway of the house that I was living in Portland, we just built a van together. And that van, I posted a bunch of photos of it. And I was like, oh, look at this thing. And dude, people flipped out. Unlike my personal Facebook, I had like thousands of likes.
Really?
And I mean, this is before Facebook was, you know, hard to, you know, there wasn't really monetized yet in the way that it is now. So like a regular person could post something, and if that content was actually interesting, Facebook would be like, oh, people like this. Let's show it to more people. Not, oh, people would like this. Let's make it so no one sees it.
Right.
Absolutely.
I better put a filter on that. You may grow.
Totally. We're obviously all frustrated by that. But anyway, so, you know, I got this huge boost of confidence. I ended up selling that van. I got another one. And at the start of 2018, I was like, I'm gonna start a van company. And I flew to the East Coast because I had done I'd bought vans on the East Coast in the past. I was staying with my cousin Andrew in Brooklyn, and his wife Candia is a public defender in Brooklyn. And dude, she was like, you need to keep my card with you at all times. You are going to get arrested. I was like, why? Well, I was literally like crisscrossing New England and mostly like New York. I went to Long Island. I popped down to Philly. I was just Connecticut. I was going all over the East Coast buying vans for like super cheap. These old plumber vans, you know, like construction vans. None of them had plates. I was parking them on the street in New York City, moving them. It was just this, and she thought for sure I was going to get busted because I'm driving around all these vans without plates.
Yeah, porting all the vans on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Like piling them up, just stacking them in there. Now, was your first van? What was that based off of? Were you in like an Econoline? Is this a Sprinter, Freightliner?
My first van was a 2002 T1N Sprinter, low roof, 158 wheelbase.
Okay.
It was the first year that the Sprinter was available in the United States.
Yeah.
It was in 2002. So I got the first year. That thing ended up having like a crazy death wobble.
Oh.
and nothing I did. I replaced the drive line, the motor mounts.
Yeah.
Like nothing I did got rid of that death wobble. I just couldn't figure it out because, dude, back then, like you'd be in some random city and your van would have an issue. Nobody knew how to work on that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what to do.
No.
Yeah.
And like, you'd end up having to take it into Freightliner or something or the Dodge dealership, and they'd be like, "Oh, we gotta touch those."
Yeah.
Even they didn't want to do it. They were the only ones that really knew how.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I had a bunch of T1Ns.
So those were the vans you're snatching up on the East Coast. These early model T1N.
The East Coast vans. I had T1Ns. I had some like 07s, 08s. Some of the early VS30s. But I called a bunch of my buddies. I flew them all out. We kind of like everybody drove a van back.
Yeah.
Got them back to Portland, Oregon. We rented a space and we just like started building. I think we built like 8 vans that first year.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
I had 3 guys. Yeah, it was. Yeah. At the time we all had like some trade experience, in different areas. And so like we understood basic electrical, basic plumbing, basic carpentry, and we just sort of started being like, well, what should this one look like?
Yeah.
And then we would just do it, and then we would do it again. And, nothing we were doing was like incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
But I've seen some of those vans and I'm like, dude, that's actually pretty cool. Like, I don't dislike them. I don't have any, there's no vans that I built where I'm like, don't look at that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure learning along the way, right? Stuff you learned on the first, second one, going into the third one, some stuff you could change, some stuff you can do better, and how to make stuff fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, none of them were perfect. I mean, even moving into our vans get better every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been my methodology is I'm never committed to one thing. I'm just always trying to make the best thing that I possibly can.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of been like a theme in my life and a theme in what I do. Is I genuinely try and create the very coolest thing, the best thing that I think I can do, no matter what it is that I'm doing.
Right.
I'm pretty all in about stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, that definitely shows, coming to your space, of course.
I was going to say, we've got RC1 on the wall here, and so to hear you talk about these early vans and then see what you've grown it to, and you could tell, that you keep pushing the envelope on what needs to be on these things or what looks good or what functions or how it should look, it's like not being, a cookie cutter type builder, you just kind of create amazing product,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, and like something that hearing your story and something that keeps on coming to my mind is, man, I imagine, growing up the way you did, having the family that you did with all the backing, kind of seeing all the, hard things that they went through and kept on going. Mm-hmm. Man, I imagine that just gave you so much resilience, you know, which I imagine drive and probably leads into your business a ton, I would think.
Yeah, I come from a long line of very, very hardworking people.
Yeah.
Yeah, very hardworking.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad worked well into his 70s. They're just, the culture that I got. I mean, first of all, I was raised in the Midwest, and people in the Midwest work really hard.
Yeah.
Everybody does. And, my parents were no exception to that. And then, they grew up at a time when the only way to get ahead for people in their social status was to be the best.
Yeah.
You had to.
Yeah.
And so that was that was something that was ingrained in us, as a kid. It's actually, it's funny because like they're kind of, my parents are really, my whole family, it's like very extreme. My parents especially are very extreme people.
Yeah.
Like they would pull me aside and they would be like, if somebody walked up to you and put a gun to your head and they said like, do you believe in Jesus Christ? I was like, I'm like 5 years old. I'm like
Holy
5 years
cow.
old and they're like, because my parents are Coptic, they're Coptic Orthodox.
Yeah.
They're not they're not Orthodox now. They don't really practice Orthodoxy. They're more like non-denominational. But my parents are Coptic Orthodox, and so they grew up like fighting for that, right? Like fighting for their faith.
Yeah,
they were in all these like the stories that they have are insane of being like blackmailed and bribed and beaten and put back and like arrested and like just crazy stories.
Holy.
And like. I mean, they were living like second-class citizens. They really were. And so they would come up to me and they'd be like, well, if somebody asked you, like, if you love Jesus Christ, like, and they put a gun to your head, what are you going to say?
Yeah.
And they're looking for, I would take a bullet for God.
Yeah.
That's the answer that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And like, because they're like, that's your integrity, son.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nuts. I would not talk to my daughter like that.
No. Yeah. I was going to say, hit you with the hard questions early, man.
Dude,
yeah.
He's at that age. He's at that age. Let's start getting him with the real ones.
I would not talk to my daughter like that. But that's the thing is you have to understand, like, they grew up in an extreme fight or flight situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So to them, that was like normal discourse. Like, hey, I need to have a tough conversation with my son.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
he needs to know, like, when it gets down to the shit, what is he going to do?
Right.
Yeah, down to brass tacks. Here's where you need to be.
And and so they were like that with everything. And so they were just very like, my parents are wonderful people and they love me and my two brothers, like very much. And they supported us. They did an amazing job raising us. But but that was life.
Yeah.
And they were like serious about stuff. And so it instilled in us a very real sense of like what opportunities we had and like what life was and things we should be grateful for, and B, it also taught us that we needed to work really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, because they every single day that I woke up, they were like, it is a gift that you are here.
Yeah.
It is a gift that you're here. And when I was like in my
100%.
rebellious phase, like when I was like a teenager and I was smoking weed and doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like my dad would look at me and he'd be like, in Egypt, they would kill you. They would kill you. They would look at what you did. They would kill you.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's real life, right? Like that's not just being, sarcastic or anything, right? I mean, laws in America a little bit more lenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was, it's pretty funny. It's funny. It's also not funny, but it's funny to kind of reflect on how extreme it was. But again, like that definitely affected me. And I did have good mentors. I think, dude, small business is like the backbone of this country.
Yes.
And I think small business is, especially with this crazy political climate that we're in, and everybody's just like, feels like everybody is just going crazy. And for me, like, I just wish like if a candidate is going to run on a platform, like they need to talk about small business.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be discussing. What
Absolutely.
are you doing for small businesses? Small businesses are like, that's how you get ahead in this country.
Right.
Like that's what's so cool about the U.S.
Well, that's what, part of it, right? That American dream, right? You can go over here and grow your business no matter what it is, but you should have that same fair shot, as anybody,
Yeah.
So, definitely part of the American dream. And
It is.
looking around, you've certainly done it and grown with it. I know you started out in Portland, I guess. How long did you stay up there before you changed to this beautiful location?
So we did that first year of van building in 2018, and then I was on and off in Portland for quite a while,
Right.
like 9 years or so. I wasn't always there during that time, but I always like had a little. Dude, Portland at that time, man, you could like I had a whole basement in a shared house that I rented out for $300 a month.
Holy
Whoa.
smokes.
And it wasn't even $300. It was $280. So, I mean, like, dude, Portland was a cool place. I mean, it was a wild place. It was a fun place. You know, everybody was like dumpster diving and like, you know, free food kitchens and porches and like anarchy and, you know, freak bikes and like crazy, you know, riding down the street at 2:00 in the morning wearing tutus with like 100 other people. Mm-hmm. Like it was a wild town. Yeah. I had a lot of fun there. It was very formative for me, but like,
I mean, you can definitely have a good time in Portland. You know, it's different. You know, same coming from the Midwest, going to Portland. Not what I'm used to seeing on my everydays, but
come back with a bunch of $2 bills stained red.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
It was a cool time, but you know, it was 2018. We had worked all the way until December. We got done with our last van in December, and it was cold. It was rainy.
Sounds like Portland.
The Northwest has all these, like, you know, before all the Californians moved there, the Northwest had all these, you know, independent-minded, I'm going to do it myself type people. Yeah. Very resilient. And, you know, I just... you know, you're trying to make it and you're trying to sell vans and you're trying to sell builds and, you know, you get hit with all these people being like, well, I can do this myself and I can do that myself. Yeah. And I'm, you know, I know it's, that's not the whole reason why I left. I mostly was just, I could tell that there was a market in San Diego. Yeah. And we wanted to be in the sun, basically. And
makes sense.
Yeah. So we moved down here. We were in my buddy Roger's van at the time, who's somebody who helped me start Rogue. And Roger had a big, you know, long wheelbase 177 T1N. And we were driving down and we were, you know, dude, we were calling. We only had a couple days to try and find a spot. And we were calling everybody. And then we were driving on the 5. And we knew we wanted to be close to the beach. We wanted to kind of have that that.
Hey guys, hate to interrupt the episode, but we do have a new coupon code available. It is Cortado15, and that's CORTADO15. Use that on your next Backwoods Adventure Mods order to save 15% off. And it's at backwoodsadventuremods.com. Now back to the episode. Hey guys, so we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Apologize about that. But Santiago, so you were saying that y'all were driving
in Roger's van.
Yeah, Roger's van, yep.
Yeah, we were driving Roger's van, looking for a spot. We wanted to be close to the beach, and I see this 55 logo from the highway, and there was a big like for rent sign.
Yeah.
And dude, 5 has always been my number. I love the number 5.
Yeah.
That's like been my number forever.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, so I just saw it and I don't know, it just seemed like it was fated.
Yeah, right.
It really did. So we called him up, and I mean, at the time I didn't have credit. I didn't have like any, I mean, I was bootstrapping everything. I didn't have references. I had nothing.
Yeah.
The only reason why that guy rented me a space, and that my landlord ended up becoming like a good friend of mine who I've had like great interactions with over the years. The only reason why he rented me a space was because he like loved vans. And he thought that he knew somebody who had one of my vans.
Really?
And I was just like, well, I've only built like 8 of them, so I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was just like, cool. Let's go with it.
Right. If that gets your foot in the door, right? Heck yeah, man.
I would have never been able to rent a commercial space otherwise. Nobody would have rented to me. I didn't have any rental history. I didn't have credit. I had nothing.
Not enough of the boxes checked.
No, I didn't. No, I was just like an urchin, you know. I had nothing. So
that's
yeah. And then now we've expanded over the years. You guys are in our new facility, which is 5066 Santa Fe. Hopefully taking over more space here soon.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like you will be.
Yeah, we're busy. Yeah. Thankfully.
What Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No.
I was going to ask you, as far as, because I feel like Rogue Vans definitely has a very specific look, just like style. What would you say is like the elements that make a Rogue Van?
That's a really good question. So yeah, we have a pretty specific way that we build vans. One of the big things, not all of our vans, it used to be all of our vans would have tongue and groove, either cedar or pine, or like redwood. We did tongue and groove walls for all of our vans. That was one thing that kind of separated us. There are companies that do that, but they're like not quite in the way that we were doing it. We do wall panels now too, which we've found success with too. I mean, I don't like the way they look. Another thing is like our kind of distinctive bulkhead and entryway style. Like we have like that curved kind of portico.
Oh yeah,
bulkhead that delineates the cab from the living space. We've done full partition bulkheads, whatever, but I mean we put something there regardless. And that has like a strong defining characteristic. We also do our like upper cabinets are really distinct. They dive away when at the bottom and they come out at the top. And so it makes the van like feel larger.
Yeah.
A lot of people do, their cabinets at right angles.
Right.
Or even if they do a curve, but it's still like 90.
Yeah.
So ours at taper, ours are at an angle. Which is, just another thing that is just a little bit different. And then, we basically build the vans the way that they build boats.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of van builders do it quite that way. We use bulkheads. We kind of box things in. We do a lot of dados. A lot of van companies do like lots of like Craig joints,
right?
Where they're just taking two pieces of wood and doing pocket holes on one side, and that's how everything's put together.
Right.
We don't do that at all. We dado everything together. Everything's CNC'd together. It all clicks together.
Yeah.
We're doing we butt joint all of our drawer boxes. It's like a distinct kind of craftsman style of building a van. And
well, it's cool because all the things you said, it wasn't anything big noticeable on the van, but it's all those stuff that's in the details, right? You named off a bunch of different ways you can get this wood to go together, but it's how you guys choose to do it and stuff, and what works best for y'all. The drawers being tapered, it's like you don't lose that head space or any of the space inside the van with that
elbow room.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense too, because like I lived in a camper for about 2 years, and man, that was something on that camper that constantly drove me nuts. Is like when I would bend down or come back up, I would either hit my head going down or hit my head going up. And having that tapered, box would have solved that. So I mean, that totally makes sense. And building it like a boat makes sense too, because boats obviously are very violent, and I would imagine a van is probably pretty similar. So yeah, building them where they can take that beating. I mean, to me, that just makes sense. So yeah, hats off to you guys for that.
Yeah. It's like we started building vans before building vans exploded, right? We all know, like before COVID, dude, there was not that many van companies.
Yeah.
And there were not that many people online like posting about vans.
No.
So like all of these like thoughts and ideas and like build designs, like, everything that we do was like created within our own container. Like we didn't have a lot of external influence.
Yeah.
And like that makes that's a distinctive, that's kind of you can look at our early vans and you can look at our later vans and you can see a continuity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can see, you can kind of see that we've kind of gone with the same playbook that we've had for a long time, and we've done. I mean, obviously we've made a lot of advancements and we've grown and changed and learned a lot.
Well, that's like with the industry, right? You know,
Yeah.
and you started mentioning those first vans you built, you know, in 2014 and earlier, you know, it's like it's not like it is now, you know, where you can source flooring, get walls, you know, built and all this stuff, pre-built, carpeted, and all this stuff, you know, you can just order over the phone, you know. It's like you guys probably had to make, you know, everything, you know, as being a one-off and everything. And so I'm sure you learned a lot, you know, about
Yeah.
you know the crafting of these things, you know, how to, you know, with the tools you've got, able to use the CNC and everything and build what you want.
We did it the hard way. I mean, we didn't when we started. Obviously, we didn't have a CNC, so
Yeah.
we had a giant physical template library that we could use routers to cut out, and so we would cut the entire van by hand. We did all of our dados on the table saw, built all our cabinets on the table saw, you know, and we grew the business like that. And
Mhm.
I remember the day when I realized that, you know, we'd gotten our first CNC, we'd worked at it, you know, digitized. And I remember when we literally were like, all right, we don't make anything, we don't need any of these templates anymore. Like they're
They're gone.
obsolete.
Yeah.
They're
But that
obsolete.
was an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an incredible feeling, and it took a while, and yeah, like refining the process and stuff, and making it so that we can scale, and like, you know, because a lot of customers come to us and they're like, they want you know, a custom build, but the thing is, we built so many vans and so many different configurations.
Yeah.
We kind of do everything the same way, right? And then we have this massive library of files to pull on. So we can take these, you know, 3D models and, you know, 2-dimensional DXF files that all these different, you know, drawings, and we can just modify them to fit within the scope of like what our customer wants. So in a lot of ways, like our custom work, almost isn't custom anymore, because we've just got this system down.
Yeah.
To where we can make adjustments to our floor plans kind of rapidly on the fly, and we're not going to run into any unknowns.
Right.
Like, it's all known. It's
Yeah.
all known information.
Yeah.
Very
been done
rare.
before.
Yeah. Very rare that you run into something that you hadn't ran into before at this point.
Yeah, and like we know dimensionally where everything stands, so we don't. If the customer wants something like really unique and different, and we have a ton of floor plans that look nothing like anything else we've ever built coming in for the next year, and you know, we do 3D CAD models of every single one, and but like we're there's no question marks. We're like, we know exactly how this is going to go together at this point.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it was nothing but question marks.
Right.
Everything that we did, we were like, all right, unexplored territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got no clue.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we, you know, because we had no resource to outsource anything, we just had to learn everything the hard way.
Yeah.
Just do it all ourselves.
But I mean, I think that helps, you know, with where you're at now, right? You know, as you've done it the hard way, you learn the hard way, you know, and now you've got all these tools, you know, the CAD drawings, the CNC, make that stuff easier. But I think you'd still want to go about it the way you did. You know, I think that still adds so much more knowledge, you know, figuring it out the hard way, knowing that you've crossed that bridge.
Yeah.
It made our floor plans a lot more robust and have like good groundwork and foundation, because we had to build them with such a limited scope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there, as far as like any, basically, you know, Rogue Vans in the future, you know, is there anything that you are willing to share, you know, that are kind of some things that you have coming up for 2025 that you're really excited about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, 25. Oh, it's going to be such a crazy year.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we're trying to, we're growing right now. We're growing.
Love hearing that.
Yeah, we're growing. We're actively hiring. We're trying to expand the team. We're trying to get into bigger spaces. We're trying to expand. I'm hoping to cut down lead times. As of right now, 2024 is basically sold out builds wise. We don't really have any more room.
Yeah.
Man, we have so many freaking objectives and incentives. So this is I'll give you guys this. This is going to be the first public place that I say this, but we retired the RC1 this year. That was our concept van that we took to Barrett Jackson, or that we took to SEMA last year, and then Barrett Jackson, and then we did the whole show year.
Yeah.
We retired it, and we officially put it up for sale. I mean, a lot of people saw like for sale things throughout the year, but that was more like promotional. We actually said we're going to sell this thing, and we closed on a contract.
Good.
That van
awesome
found its new home.
Heck yeah.
Which I'm really excited about. It's that thing was like an insane labor of love, and
you can see it. The inside of it's amazing. It's a lot of stuff. We've all seen the inside of a bunch of vans, and this one just looks different. Nothing overlooked.
It was an obsession. I mean, you have to be obsessed to be able to achieve what we did. And I mean, it was a lot. I mean, I had to be obsessed about it. And anyway, I think it breaks the record for the most expensive van ever sold, at least in North America.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Hats off to you, man. You and your team, for being able to turn out such a van like it is.
So that kind of opens up the door. We need, we did our Grid Runner, our e-Sprinter concept at SEMA this year. That's going to go on the road next year to show people that kind of like modular electric camper. We've got so many things. We've got our Rob Machado build series. So we're going to be finishing that van Q1 next year, launching all that stuff with Rob. We kind of started this program called the Rogue Van Company Gold Label.
Oh, nice.
And it's this cool opportunity for different types of folks who, I like to say that they're experts in their field or they're artists.
Yeah. And
we give them a platform, to come to a professional builder and, do a project or a series.
Yeah.
So for Rob, Rob is this amazing surfer. He's an incredible guy. Super humble, wise, incredible surfer, talks the talk, walks the walk. That dude has dedicated his life to surfing.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting that we can basically extrapolate his day-to-day routine and then use that as the basis of how we build a van that's built for surfing. And then, so Rob's van is going to be done. As you guys know, it's going full. That's a full Rome built build.
Yeah,
which is gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
It'll look the part.
Yeah,
and it's that van's gonna get done in Q1, and then we're gonna be opening up the build slots, letting people buy one of the limited editions runs of those, which is exciting. Another aspect of our gold label, we've got a series of, kind of influencers and independent YouTube builders, that we're kind of doing some gold label stuff with. And, we've got Abby Miner with the Luna. We did a bunch of Lunas this year. Yeah. We've got Lucas Revisa. He has his Odyssey build, which is an epic build. We're doing some of those next year. And we've got Shane with Landship Customs, and we're doing some of those next year too.
Nice.
Those are all great people to partner with, right? With what they've done in their builds and stuff, and how they've grown.
They're top tier folks. They make amazing content. They've got great ideas, and we're all about that. We're all about supporting art and kind of giving people a platform, and we're up to the challenge of doing those builds.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I have no doubts they'll turn out amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I imagine that'll produce some incredible.
What's cool because it's like Shane's touch is different than what Abby's look like, and different than what Lucas's vans look like. So they're all different, but they all have a very unique spin on it and stuff. Abby's, the Lunas, how they look on the inside is I mean, perfect for where we're at right now. And they're going to be awesome.
Those are outrageous.
Yeah.
They're crazy. I just can't believe them.
Yeah, I mean, following along with that one, I guess another yellow van, maybe you'll never outrun them. You get rid of one, you got a Luna showing up.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, we have our, he's a legend. And so, ever since that happened with Dylan, I have always wanted to do like a mobility adventure van that would accommodate someone in a wheelchair.
Right.
Yeah.
Rob Ross found me. Rob, I hope you don't mind me saying your last name. I think we're gonna do a big video thing about it. He knows, so I don't think he cares. But Rob found me, and we talked. We kind of, I shared the story about Dylan and about our passion for this and how we really wanted to do it. And we just knew that we were the right fit for each other.
Right.
And this is gonna be a cool van. It's a 170 3500 XD cab chassis Sprinter. We have a box on order with box manufacturer.
Yeah.
In Germany, Andreas and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're shipping that over next spring, and we're gonna do our first cab chassis build, and it's all gonna be around mobility stuff.
Yeah.
We've got really interesting features. We've got cabinets that, with a click of a button, come down on the wall.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Lift lower.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a super cool thing. We're working with Braun Mobility right now to mate together like the functionality of having a lift that integrates seamlessly with the cab chassis.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really big project.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be big.
That's awesome, to address something like that. I mean, he's the one who reached out to you, but I'm sure there's, other folks that are the same boat, right? That want to do this, want to get out more, but their vehicle's lacking and stuff like that. So hats off to you for doing that, thinking outside the box on that.
This is meaningful, like a lot of van builders talk about how we make people's dreams, because we do, like a lot of adventure, experiencing life,
right?
Like that is what life is. Life is the summation of our experiences. Your life, your day-to-day life is your life. That is what your life is. And if we can create literally a vehicle for which people can experience life, and can connect with life on a deeper level and be fulfilled, that's a very worthwhile thing. And then to do it for somebody that doesn't have the same mobility opportunities that other people do, and have special needs in that area, and to be able to support them in that to me, I actually that really does it for me.
Yeah.
That is meaningful for me.
Yeah. Because I mean, man, that vehicle is going to be more important to him than it'll ever be to one of us, I mean, that's literally what's getting him there. You know?
We'll get him there, letting him enjoy it, and do it in comfort too, right?
Right.
He's not going to have to struggle, fight anything, go wherever he needs to go and point and shoot.
Yeah. That's incredible.
We're going to take our time on that one. He's totally on board with, shooting a documentary around it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to really give it the platform it deserves.
Yeah.
Because I want other people that are in similar situations, to and this is what Rob wants too. Like, he wants to inspire people to get out there, take charge of their life, and make shit happen.
Right.
And to be like, you know what, like, I can do this.
Yes.
And this is open to me. And and there's already like a ton of amazing organizations. In San Diego, there's a ton of especially veteran support around this stuff. But there are already a lot of amazing organizations that are all about getting alter-abled people, out and in the wild in whatever sport or activity. And they're amazing. They're amazing people. And, if any of them are listening to this, we'd love to, bring you in on this project too. It's super open-ended.
Yeah.
I want everybody to have the same opportunities, to get out and, experience life in the way that they want to.
Absolutely.
So
100% behind that. I think it's super cool, for you to go down that, and to have that personal touch that's bringing you in, knowing that it's one of your good buddies, and going to be able to help him, better his life, enjoy it a little more and stuff. I think it's just super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're stoked, and we're gonna fly Dylan out at some point to meet Rob.
Yeah,
so that the two of them can kind of talk, and Dylan's gonna help us design some of the floor plan. Because, dude, that dude still, like, he still dives.
Yeah.
He still goes spearfishing.
Holy
He still
cow.
goes mountain biking.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy does not miss a beat. He does not miss a beat.
That is nuts.
That's awesome. Like you love hearing that. Hate that he had to go through it, but I'm sure he appreciates, life a lot more than us, knows how fortunate he is to be able to do what he's doing now.
Yeah.
He's got guts.
Yeah.
He's got guts.
100%.
Well, heck yeah. Well, Santiago, I think we're probably going to go ahead and wrap this one up, but is there anything?
Yeah, sorry I talk so much.
Dude,
no, dude,
we appreciate it.
We talk like crazy too, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So, is there anything that, kind of like, last words for the people?
I think the difference between people that are grabbing life by the horns and making stuff happen and people that, wish that they could or wish that they would or, just kind of like are discontent with what they're doing. I think the biggest thing is just belief. I think you just got to believe in yourself. And that's always been my mantra. And that's the way I was raised, was to just believe in myself. And I think that's the single greatest gift that you can give to another person, that you can give to yourself, is belief. Belief that you're worth it, belief that you can do it, belief that what you want to see happen is possible. And I think that is the basis of, if I have found success, it is because of that. That's my number one message to anyone that would be listening to this and being like, oh, he's talking about how he did this and he did that and this and that. And I'm just like, it is belief.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Belief and having balls, right? Do it. You can make it happen, man. It may not be easy, but you try hard, and if you believe in it enough, something's going to turn up.
Something will happen. Good things come from if you just try. You just got to try.
Yeah, I know. Like, we were listening to a book on the way up here, and guy said something that kind of resonated with me. I can't remember what job he was working, but he was doing something he didn't want to do, and he was like, "Man, I can't go one more day robbing myself of what I want to do, doing something that I don't want to do." So
that's what it is.
Yeah,
very true.
Absolutely,
dude. We appreciate you, man, taking time out of your day. Appreciate you taking us around the shop.
Yeah.
You guys got it going on. Everybody's hard at it. Bands in the shop. I hope that always is the case.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming down and having me on, guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Bet.
Yeah, and guys, check us out on backwoodsadventuremods.com. Of course, YouTube is Backwoods Adventure Mods. Instagram is also Backwoods Adventure Mods. And yeah, guys, thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. I'm J.O.
I'm Mo. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.